Yo, welcome back to Stu Know Who. So, tonight's episode is a complete change of direction from the last one. It is a completely different style of video. I want to talk about a news story, one that was, I call it a recent slash old news story. It was 2 months ago it broke, and it was big news. It was big news. It was in all the papers. A lot of people were talking about it, giving their opinions, giving their thoughts. Some pro, some con, and it caused a lot of discussions, even around people that I know, people around me. Not just online or things you hear on TV, whatever. My own circle of friends that are close to me had different opinions on it. So I thought I would, for what it's worth, give my opinions on it and give my thoughts and my concerns. What I'm talking about is the Digital I.D, which was announced at the end of September that this government is going to implement across the country by the end of the Parliament, which I think they're looking at 2029, if they make it that far, with how things are going for them. But that is the plan, that is the idea, and it's not the first time that digital IDs have been spoken about. Now, I was young at the time, but I do believe Tony Blair first spoke about implementing this, and I don't know why it never went through. Possibly because of a similar backlash to what has happened this time around as well. So, yeah, that's tonight's episode. I'm giving my opinions, my thoughts. I'm going to go maybe down some rabbit holes and see how deep we can get and express my opinions. So if you're new around here, then please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another one. Like the video and share where you can. It'll be much appreciated. So, pull up this tweet here to start with. This is from Kier Starmer himself, where this was, I believe, just after he had publicly announced the plan for the digital IDs. And he says, Digital ID, this is on X, Digital ID will be a huge help in tackling illegal immigration. A lot of question marks about that, but that's not my major concern with this, but that is the guise that is being used to try and implement the system. But he goes on to say it's so much more than that. It will empower people every single day by giving you a new way to prove who you are. I know who I am. Saving time and money when you apply for a mortgage by cutting down on unnecessary paperwork. Proving your right to rent in one click. Personalised public services like helping parents claim eligibility for free childcare and nursery places. It's time to put power back in people's hands and bring the UK into the modern age. So that was his statement on X regarding the digital IDs. Obviously, for those watching in the UK or those who are up to date with the political landscape in the United Kingdom right now, immigration is the big issue in the UK. Whether you are pro, against, somewhere in the middle, it is, when it comes to politics, the first word that comes to mind, no matter what your political leaning is, seems to be immigration. So if they want to implement something to say that it will help with immigration, that would be a great way to bring it in, whether it will help or not. I'm very dubious about it, which I will touch on later in this video. Why I think it's a smokescreen using the topic of immigration to try and bring this digital ID in. It's I find that the people who lead us, or should be the people who work for us, they don't. They treat us like mushrooms, feed us shit, keep us in the dark. That's what they do. But the people who are supposed to work for us and lead us, they do what they want, and they will tell you they're doing it for your benefit, whether that is right or not. And maybe the best intentions are there for this. I'm skeptical, and I think it's good to be skeptical. I think governments have a history of not being transparent. I think that's fair to say. This isn't a slight at any individual politician or anything like that. I think they got a tough job, but governments do not tend to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And I think if you look at the past 5 years, I don't think there is one political party you could look at, point at and say, they done good. I think trust in politics is probably at an all-time low right now. So I don't care what side of the house it is, what colour rosette they've got. If they announce something, I'm gonna question it. That's where I am as an individual. That's how I've always been, and I believe how I'll always be. Anyway, so I got an article from the BBC, just to BBC, who also has their own issues and problems at the moment. That's not for tonight's episode though. So the BBC have an article, what is the plan for digital IDs and will they be mandatory? So Prime Minister Sir Kier Starmer has defended the government's plan to introduce digital IDs across the UK. He told the BBC the new system would cut the faff for people trying to prove their identity in a range of scenarios, as well as showing they have the right to work. Now, what I will say is, I go for a job, I have a national insurance number. I believe in every job I've had, been asked for ID. Having a digital ID is not going to change that. And I would argue that the people who are more than happy to hire people who don't have a right to work, having a new digital ID ain't going to change that. That would be my argument, and that's why I think to use the whole immigration argument is a load of crap, my opinion. The government says the scheme will be rolled out by the end of the Parliament, meaning before the next general election, which by law must be held no later than August 29th. So why is it introducing it? Once introduced, the ID will be used to verify a person's right to live and work in the UK. It will take the form of an app-based system stored on smartphones in a similar way to the NHS app or digital bank cards or COVID passport. My mind's gone straight back to 2020. I want to forget. I've had enough of that shit. I don't want to look back. a COVID anymore, because there was a lot of crap rolled up in that. But I do, maybe it's the way I question everything, but it kind of feels like they looked at the COVID passport thing that people had on their phones, the track and trace and all that stuff, and thought, we can use this. I never had it on my phone. I never had the track and trace or nothing, because I don't trust people. Unless I know you, unless I shake your hand, have a beer with you, and I know you personally, I don't trust you. That's just the way I am. I personally don't think it's a bad way to be. I'm not just going to trust someone because they have a title. They are a prime minister or a police officer. Or no, I take everyone at face value. Polite, but doesn't mean I'm going to trust what you say. That's just that's I suppose that speaks on my personality, the kind of guy that I am. The ID will include information on the holder's residency status, name, date of birth, nationality, and their photo. When he first announced the scheme, Sir Kier said, "You will not be able to work in the UK if you do not have Digital ID. It is as simple as that. You have been told." However, the government subsequently told the BBC that the requirements for the ID won't be applied retrospectively, with UK workers only needing it when they apply for a new job after its proposed introduction by 2028. Nonetheless, they insist it will curb illegal immigration. I don't think so. And it will make it harder for people to find jobs who are illegally immigrating to the country. And that's what the government argues. The government argues is a reason some migrants enter the UK illegally. They still will. They still will. You have to prove who you are for a job unless you have an employer who doesn't care and is cutting corners, cutting costs, and underpaying the staff. So employers will no longer be able to rely on a national insurance number, which is currently used as a proof of right to work. Says at the moment it's possible to borrow, steal, or use someone else's national insurance number. Yeah, I suppose. So to move on to this one, because this is my main concern, and this is where my mind goes very conspiratorial. This is where I have some serious questions, and that is what else could the Digital ID be used for? So, Digital ID will be available to all citizens, we know that, age 16 and over, and will be mandatory to work. However, it will be optional for students, pensioners, and others not seeking employment. The government will consult on whether children aged between 13 and 16 should be included in the same scheme, since many already work part-time. Officials have stressed it will not function like a traditional ID card, and people will not be required to carry it in public. Yet. Mr. Brackets and yet, BBC. Sir Kier also confirmed that you wouldn't need a Digital ID to access medical services or go to hospital again, yet. But the system has been designed to integrate with some government services to make applications simpler and reduce fraud. So the fraud bit there, we are supposed to put our names on there. It's going to have our date of birth, a lot of our details. This is going to be a convenient app that's going to help you live your life. So why would you not have your banking details on there? Use your digital ID as your bank account now. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's easy, isn't it? We're simplifying your life. We're the government and we're here to help. Oh. What about your medical records? We know we've got a problem in the NHS with people who are not entitled to use the NHS for free, using it and not paying. So therefore, if you take your cards, you can prove you don't have to pay. But it means we'll have to put your medical records on there. Makes your life easy. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. And this country has a fantastic reputation of not leaving files on trains. If you're a government minister or anything like that, I can't remember who that was that did that. There's some top secret files left on a train, I think it was, or a bus. It was some. I'm sure it's a train. We've not had security breaches online. The NHS was targeted. Some big business. Marks and Spencer's was done recently, wasn't it? There's been some other big businesses. That kind of stuff doesn't happen. We don't have data breaches because, we're that advanced. And even if we do, it's not been the NHS is a government. Funded by the government anyway. But no, this time the government they have top men working on it. Top men. I don't know the top men line. I don't know where that's from. I only know it from watching Family Guy. That's a great show. Top men. But your personal information will be safe because Daddy Government said so. And they have never given us any reason not to trust them. That is a very concerning thing. That is if these digital IDs are with the best of intentions in mind, there are still bad players out there who will target your data. So why are some people against digital IDs? I'll just give them one of the reasons there. And I'm going to get into some more reasons why I am. I've not said it yet. I've not claimed it explicitly. But if you're watching or listening to this, I think it's safe to say I'm against this. I am against this shit, definitely. So civil liberty groups argue that even a limited digital ID could pave the way for a more intrusive system. That is my concern. Raising concerns about privacy, data security, and government overreach. Big Brother Watch, alongside 7 other organisations, wrote to the Prime Minister urging him to abandon the plan, saying it would push unauthorised migrants further into the shadows. Yep, I do believe it would. More than 2.9 million people have signed a petition against introducing digital ID cards. I may or may not be one of those. And I may or may not be telling everyone I know that this petition is there and they may or may not want to sign it too. Petitions to get more than 100,000 signatures are considered for a debate in Parliament. You can imagine how that debate will go. We shouldn't have this. We are tough. Other prominent critics include the former Conservative Cabinet Minister David Davis. He said no system is immune to failure and warned that governments and tech companies have repeatedly failed to protect people's data. Yes, they have. Sir Kier denied that digital IDs would ever be used as a surveillance tool and said the scheme would absolutely have very strong encryption. Because hackers cannot break very strong encryptions. They can't. it's it is scary, like, to think that we are trusting these people who, even this party, since they've been in, scandal after scandal after scandal, taxes not being paid, one Labour MP beat up his constituent, all these things that this current party have done. We had, I think, an anti-fraud minister being investigated for fraud, housing minister that got booted out because she didn't pay the tax on her house, the free tyres and free tickets and all that crap. And this isn't a dig at Labour, because we all remember what was there before. They're all as bad as each other in my eyes, and I'm supposed to entrust these people with my data, with my children, with no, thank you. Now, one thing that Kier Starmer said at the end of that statement was, it is not going to be used as a surveillance tool. Now, with the best of intentions, is maybe why he's bringing this in. He's not going to be there forever. With how popular he is in the country, it's argued he may not be there this time next year. I don't think that's too far of a stretch. When his own MPs, like backbenchers, are coming out and say, look, resign, do the right thing, because no one likes you. Who's to say who comes in next? You could be an avid Digital I.D fan and an avid Labour fan. I used to be. Definitely former Labour voter. And you could think this is brilliant. Think of the party you are most scared of, or the political ideology you are most fearful of. Imagine that being in power next. If these digital IDs are in, and they could be used for this. Surely that's a reason enough to say, nah, let's not do that. It might be fine while these guys are in, but the next guys, I don't think so. This isn't a left versus right thing. I think I'm not even sure what left and right even means anymore. I think politics is so fluid now that people might vote one way one election and the opposite way the next, and then a third way the next. Probably because, to go back to what I said, there's a lack of trust in politics at the moment. And I think people are just reaching out for what could potentially help this country and help people as individuals and their families. So who's to say who's going to be in charge next? And the wrong person gets in with the wrong intentions. What could they use these powers for if you put them in place? So even if you think this part is great, it can be used, it can be manipulated. Now, my big fear, once I heard all this, was China's social credit score system. Now, that shit scares me. That petrifies me, to live in a society where the government has that much power, that much overreach, that much day-to-day interaction with you, that they can control what you do, what you think, what you say. You are free to think or say what you want, but if you think or say the wrong thing, there will be consequences. So, just quickly, before I play a video, which I I want to jump into. This is on Wikipedia, and this is about a social credit score system. For if you're still listening to this point, there's a good chance you're either intrigued and don't know, or know this already. But the social credit score system is a national credit rating and blacklist implemented by the government of the People's Republic of China. The social credit system is a record system so that businesses, individuals, and government institutions can be tracked, evaluated for trustworthiness. It is based on varying degrees of whitelisting and blacklisting. There have been widespread misconceptions. I'm sure there have. The China operates a nationwide and unitary social credit score based on individuals' behaviour, leading to punishments if the score is too low. I've seen these stories. I've seen interviews with people who have fled China. Let's have a look at, let's click on the criticism. So Chinese academics have produced a substantial body of work analysing social credit in China. As of 2023, the large majority of Chinese scholarships accept the legitimacy of a social credit as a whole, although there are also criticisms of different approaches and implementation efforts. In several instances, academics' criticisms of social credit have been adopted and reissued by state media outlets. So, So in 2019, Professor Shen of the Law School of Peking University published a paper suggesting that some of the then current credit policies violated the rule of law, that they infringed on the legal rights of residents and organizations, possibly violated the principle of respecting and protecting human rights, especially the right to reputation, the right to privacy, as well as personal dignity, and overstepped the boundary of reasonable punishment. So some of the stories I've seen with this is where you say the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing, you can't go on public transport anymore. And I've seen pictures of billboards shaming people, digital billboards, because of wrong thing. This is China. China are very powerful, and I doubt it goes that far. But if anyone from China is watching, especially the government, I think you are fantastic, and I salute you. Not. Bloody Winnie the Pooh is banned in China because it was used as a meme to mock their president. And he's like, no, I'm so weak and spineless, got to ban that shit from my country. So just let that sink in a minute. They banned Winnie the bloody Pooh. And I fear that this Digital I.D is not that many steps away from a similar line to what is in China. China that is an adversary of this country, whether this government will say that or not. There's enough MPs, enough people in the military, ex-military, who are saying China is an adversary, that I will go with that. They definitely behave adversarial to us. So I will leave you with that thought as I load up this video. And after this video, I'm going to quickly run through some of the concerns that I have of what could potentially, and it is potentially, happen were we to implement this thing. And like I said, even if this current government is done with the best of intentions, who's to say who's next? And this is what it could be used for. So let's play this video back to the beginning.
You. Yes, you. Do you dread waking up in the morning? Are you feeling helpless in your society? Perhaps even a bit lost? Well, look no further. At the Capitol, we offer an escape, a new beginning, a lifetime of unending joy. We have an abundance of attractions so captivating, you'll wonder how you ever lived without them. Let's take a look, shall we? Take a ride on the Cosmic Carnival. Let go of decisions and let the carnival choose each thrill for you. Simply sit back and soak in fun. Getting hungry? Make your way to Brightside Bistro, where you can feast until your heart's content. And if that's not enough to satisfy your craving, choose from our exquisite line of automatons, a companion that never strays, never tires, and always obeys. As you traverse our radiant metropolis, bring our latest gizmo, the mood on the go. With the swipe of a thumb, alter your mood instantly and experience any emotion you wish. You can also use it to instantaneously replace your companion if things go south. How convenient. And our most popular attraction, the Dream Machine. Relive your most cherished moments in vivid, extraordinary detail. No need to cling to old photos.
I love you.
Live in the past forever. You might be wondering, what's the cost for such a paradise? Well, dear viewer, some prices aren't paid in gold or silver. We only ask you for one thing: your identity. We'll need the very core of who you are. It's a small price for a lifetime of unending joy, don't you think? And no need to fear crime or violence. We'll always keep an eye on you. For your safety. Welcome back to Spot the Odd One Out. Remember, in the Capitol, wearing a smile is the norm. However, a few seem to occasionally slip up. No worries. This is your golden opportunity. If you see someone forgetting their grin, report them to us and stand a chance to win fabulous rewards. We'll make sure to turn their frown upside down.
So, if you're up for it, come visit the Capitol. We're only a smile away.
That video scares the crap out of me. And I think for me, one of the scariest parts of that is the fact that that was all created via AI. That was all AI that made that, and that freaks me out as well. Like, that's, I don't want to sound like a technophobe, but AI. I've seen the Terminator films. You know what I mean? Bloody fly. I've seen the Terminator films. I've seen iRobot. I don't like that. But anyway, that's definitely one for another episode. The Digital ID thing, that video that I brought up then, called Capital of Conformity. Search up on YouTube. It's freaky. But it says there, always keep an eye on you. And what's it going to cost you? Just your identity. Just the very soul of who you are. Small price to pay, don't you think? That, I know that is a very dystopian and very out there video. But I think it kind of highlights, I'm not saying to that extent, but where something like this could lead to. And it's baby steps, isn't it? Bringing this digital ID, you need it just to prove who you are and your right to work. And also you can use it to apply for loans. Then next, I already mentioned, NHS are having some incredibly difficult budgeting issues and financial issues, but how many people are using the NHS that are not entitled to, or at least not entitled to use it free, and are using it and then never paying? So let's make sure you bring your card with you for that, which then needs your medical records on there. Cash. Growing up, cash was king. Cash is demonized now. A lot of people they went from cash to cards to people using their phones now. Where I can, as long as the shop will allow me, I will use cash. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And what's next is on your phone. But remember, our data is always secure. Yeah, you trust that if you want. I'm not a very trusting person. So I'm going to pull up a couple of articles which really highlight my concerns, my fears, and the reason why I may or may not have signed that petition, which I spoke about at the start of the video. But I think my thoughts and my arguments are valid and shared by a lot of people, especially those who seem to be paying attention. And if COVID taught us anything, it's don't necessarily trust people just because they tell you they should. Think for yourself. You know, we were blessed with our own free thought, our own willpower. Use it, and don't just follow someone because you're told to. So this is from the Workers of England Union. The case against mandatory Digital ID brick card, part 1. I will have a look for part 2 after this video. I've not pulled it up. But at the end of October 2025, the UK government under Kier Starmer unveiled plans for a national digital ID system, sometimes called the Brit card. Sorry. Slip of the tongue then, I'm sure it's not a shit card. The government claims this will modernise public services, simplify access to jobs, bank accounts, mortgages and rental agreements, and prevent fraud. Every citizen and legal resident would receive a free digital ID. Cost you nothing. Cost you nothing except your identity. Ooh. The Prime Minister said it will put power back in the government's hands, the people's hands, and cut bureaucracy. The scheme is also promoted as a tool to crack down on illegal working and migration. So the Workers of England Union strongly opposes this plan, as do I. Not affiliated, but I'm with you on this. While digital ID is sold as convenience, the risks to civil liberties, employment rights and fairness are substantial. So the WEU's key concerns: privacy and surveillance risks. Mandatory digital ID creates a platform for mass surveillance. We're not monitored enough by all the CCTV cameras we got. I think we're the most camered country in the world. If we're not one, we're like top 3 or something. Centralized or linked databases are attractive targets for hackers. Once in place, function creep is almost inevitable. That is what I'm fearful of. Expanding access beyond the employment checks to monitoring daily activities. Worker data could be used to profile or control employees. Digital exclusion and fairness. Millions of people lack smartphones, reliable internet or digital skills. Vulnerable groups, including low-income workers, the elderly, disabled risk being locked out of the work, housing and public services. Digital exclusion could worsen inequalities in the labour market. Not to mention, during COVID, anyone who went online and disagreed with what was going on was basically booted from all social media platforms. Who's to say something similar could not happen again, and you can no longer work or access your money if that is then on there, or go to the NHS? It's only a couple of steps away from this. They have history. The effectiveness questions. There is little evidence that mandatory digital ID will reduce illegal working. The root causes of illegal employment are employer practices and enforcement, not lack of identity verification. Without clear standards, safeguards and oversight, the system's effectiveness is highly doubtful, and I said that right at the start of this video. Employment rights and democratic implications. Making a digital ID a prerequisite for employment or services shifts power from the workers to the state, undermining autonomy, privacy and consent. It risks normalising intrusive monitoring of workers. The WEU calls for caution, transparency and respect for employment rights. Employment should never be conditional on a state-controlled digital identifier. I struggle to disagree with a single word that was said there. I could have added a lot more to that, which I'm going to. On this platform, on this video right here, I'm going to add more of my concerns to that. But I struggle to argue with a single word that was said there. The mission creep. Do you remember, and I'm sorry to bring it back again, but was it May 2020? No, it's March 2020. We were put in lockdown. It was going to be 2 weeks, wasn't it? Just got to flatten that sombrero. That complete muppet, Boris Johnson said. Flatten the sombrero. Shut up, flatten your hair, man. At least brush it. 2 weeks. That was it. Flatten the curve. Protect the NHS. We were in and out of lockdowns for 2 years. Everyone get vaccinated and we don't need lockdowns. By the way, going in for another lockdown. Mission creep. If we allow them to do this, it's not that much of a leap to think the steps I've already said about your medical records. They could argue because the NHS, because of the money that is being lost through people who are not eligible for free service at the NHS, because of that, we all need to put our medical records on to protect the NHS. Save the NHS. See how easy a mission creep is then. Who could argue with that? It's easily done. Very easily done. Now, I think for as long as I've been alive, probably a lot longer as well, we've been told about climate change. It never used to be called climate change. It was global warming. Then they gave it a little rebrand. Now we have some of the most expensive energy bills across the world. We do. And we're paying a subsidy for green stuff, and we're being told we need electric cars. We need to cut down on our meat, and we can't eat red meat because cows love to fart. I kid you not, cows love to fart, so don't eat red meat. At least if times get hard and cannibalism like becomes a thing, I fart a lot, so I'll be safe by that logic. They bring in this digital ID and then mission creep. Who's to then say we need to save the planet? What's more important than saving the planet? You've driven too many miles. You have the wrong type of car. Your travel is not essential. Irrelevant of the fact you need to go to work to feed your family, your work doesn't matter to us. You are eating too much meat. You are a useless feeder. I can't remember the guy, but it was someone from the World Economic Forum, I believe it was, during a TED Talk, who described people as useless feeders. Small steps, and it's easy to see where the outcome could lead to. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying that's the plan. I'm not saying there's some sort of deep-rooted conspiracy that is already put in place to lead us to that place. I'm saying you're walking down that path. Let's stop walking down that path, or let's change direction slightly. You know, I'm not trying to accuse anyone of anything or anything like that. I'm just saying that is where this could lead. It's obvious. If you keep adding 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, eventually you'll get to 10. You know, it's basic maths. You know, my 6-year-old could do that. She's been able to count to 10 since she was 2 years old. You know what I mean? So let's think about it. What is the next step after? And what could be after that? Let's pause. Now, we as a society, especially after COVID or during COVID, cash went from king to the devil. So many places, even since then, do not accept cash. If I walk up and I need something and shop A, shop B both sell them. Shop A is card only, shop B is cash, and it's going to cost me an extra £1. I'm searching around my pocket for that extra £1, and I'm going to shop B. If you do not use the cash, you will lose it. And a cashless society, I believe, links into this, or at least potentially could lead into this. And a cashless society, and what that could lead to, is terrifying. So as this article is cashless society, everything you need to know. As we're heading towards are we heading towards a cashless society in the UK? Let's take a look at what the science suggests and everything you need to know about going cash free. The idea of electronic and cashless payments isn't new, with almost all small businesses now accepting payment via credit card readers. Here in the UK and around the world, people are increasingly relying on debit and credit cards and mobile payment apps to complete transactions. But are we heading towards a totally cashless society? So, what is a cashless society? It's a concept wherein no physical money changes hands when people make transactions. Instead of handing over cash to make purchases or pay bills, people would solely use digital payment methods that can be tracked, such as credit or debit cards, a mobile banking app, or smartphone options such as Apple Pay. In a fully cashless society, physical banknotes and coins would no longer be accepted. Customers and businesses would have no choice but to use digital currency for all transactions. So it works by banning the use of physical money. Instead, every single monetary transaction would be made digitally. Therefore, every single monetary transaction could be monitored by the people in charge, whether that's buying your morning coffee, electricity bill, giving money to a friend. So it says it won't happen overnight, and it's a concept that is being slowly worked towards. What's the harm? Now again, I can put myself in their shoes if they're trying to sell it. Look, people are buying weapons who shouldn't be, and they're buying drugs, and people are buying bad stuff. And if we go fully cashless, then means we can monitor every single transaction to keep the children safe and keep you safe and make sure that everyone's just being a good person. And you go cashless, and then they monitor you everywhere you go. And then you've driven too many miles. Sorry, you can't drive no more. You can't access your money until your car has rested for 2 weeks. You've eaten too much meat. You walk into a shop, you try buying the meat. Nope, sorry. Go buy the leaves and the worms and the stuff like that, you peasant. And that's where it could lead to. You want to buy something off Gumtree or for someone. And this is one I've not heard a lot of people talk about. Gumtree's a great place. I've bought some great stuff. That's a good deal. They're only 5 miles away. 20 quid. Sweet. Go buy it. Okay, that'll be £22.50, please. Said it was 20 quid. Yeah, but you got to pay your tax now. It's tax on everything. You're selling it. You have to pay the tax on the money you're making selling it as well. Easily done. Easily done. Use cash. Use it or lose it. And if we lose it, we all lose. We all lose. I firmly and strongly believe that shit. Now, the other thing that this country has come under a lot of attack for recently is this final article I want to bring up, which all correlates with the digital IDs, and if we go cashless, and it's all, you can see it all come together. At least I can. Maybe I have a very overactive mind. No, maybe. I do have an overactive mind. I know that. But the article I want to bring up, which wasn't there, which was helpful, is free speech under threat in Britain. I'll quickly go through this. And again, you say the wrong thing, and there's consequences now. Maybe you can't get a job because it's all linked to digital ID. You can't access your money because we're going cashless. And, that's where I can see us going, which is scares the shit out of me. So I've scrolled down to what is the concern in the UK now. So much of it relates to online publishing. Social media has made it easier for members of the public to spread law. Lucy Connolly, very famous case, was convicted for inciting racial hatred in 2024 because she tweeted after the Southport killings that people should set fire to hotels housing asylum seekers. Which, just to stop there, it was an abhorrent tweet. It was horrible, disgusting. Did she deserve what she got? Well, both to continue with this sentence, both the conviction itself and the length of the sentence, which was 2 years and 7 months, have much been debated. She was a mother who wrote something, who was angry, as we all were when we saw what happened in Southport and the way that we were kept in the dark about what happened. A lot of mistakes were made by the people in charge of that case. I'm not going to mention the guy's name. I know his name, but he's a scumbag. I don't want that piece of shit's name coming out of my mouth. But people were angry and emotions were heightened, and someone said something that was abhorrent and dumb. 2 years, 7 months. You go and attack someone, you're probably going to get a slap on the wrist. Recently, Graham Linehan, who, Father Ted, I love that program. He's a legend for that alone. I saw him on Joe Rogan as well, and, you know, he has some strong opinions, but legitimate opinions. You know, at least he's legitimate in being able to have those opinions, whether you agree with him or not. But he was arrested by armed police at Heathrow because of tweets in which he recommended punching trans women who went into female-only changing rooms in the balls. If you cannot see the humour in that, I want to punch you in the balls. It's a joke. It's an outlandish joke. That's the point. It's a biological male. Come on, man. But such cases are the tip of the iceberg. So what other concerns are there? The 2003 Communications Act made it illegal to send grossly offensive or indecent communications or persistently to use a communications network to cause annoyance, inconvenience, or needless anxiety. There were more than 12,000 arrests in England and Wales under the Act and related laws in 2023 alone. The new Online Safety Act has also been criticised. It creates a series of new offences, some of which, such as sending unwanted sexual images, are uncontentious. Others, such as sending a false communication with the intent of causing non-trivial harm, look potentially problematic. I guess what they're saying is don't share anything by the BBC. You could be in trouble. By early 2025, 292 people had been charged under the Act. In addition, police forces now also log non-crime hate incidents where some perceived hostility to a vulnerable group is expressed, which falls short of a hate crime. Is this just an online problem? No. Free speech covers so many areas of life that the list of potential threats is long, from the cancel culture allegedly prevailing in some universities to the Public Order Act 2023, which imposed extensive bans and control on certain forms of protest. They're banning protests. The prescription of the Palestine Action Group has led to hundreds of people being arrested merely for supporting it. J.D. Vance, US Vice President, has criticised prosecution of the Christian protesters who have violated safe access zones around abortion centres, which prevent protesters not only harassing visitors, but also, it seems, silently praying. So, free speech is under attack in this country. They're moving us to a cashless society. We have this Digital I.D. Next step is to say, put other things on there as well. Makes your life easier. No. Hell no. I don't want this shit. And if you think about it, if you can think of a decent reason for it, you're watching this. Leave me a message in the comments. Maybe there's something I've missed. Maybe I'm wrong. You know? You know, there is a chance I am. And do you know what? I'm very opinionated, but I'm also very good. Listen to other people's opinions. And if I'm wrong, I'll hold my hands up. But as it stands right now, if you're watching this and you think, yeah, damn right, I can see this going in that direction, what I will say is, sign this petition that I may or may not have signed. It's on petition.parliament.uk, but if you just search Digital ID petition, click on it, sign up. Does not take long at all. And let's stand up for our rights, because if we don't stand up for them, then they will soon be eroded. Anyway, that was my tinfoil hat moment there. If you're still watching, thank you so much for listening. And subscribe, hit the notification bell. My aim is to try and get 1 or 2 videos out a week. That is my plan. They're going to be coming out on weekends. So yeah, if you like this, like my content so far, there will be more coming. Like the damn video. Share where you can. You can follow me on X at Stu Know Who. YouTube, Spotify, same tag, same handle. Again, thank you for watching. And until next time, I will see you later.